Now before we begin working in the console application, we'll want to configure the console's default settings to make it a little bit easier for us to work in the shell. So for example, we may want to change the font size and the colors to make the text just a bit more readable. We should also consider changing the console window's size so that we can see all of the command output without having to scroll horizontally. Now for some users, the default white text on blue background color scheme, it might not provide enough color contrast for them to easily see what they're typing and the output from the commands. So we can adjust the console's default appearance to suit our preferences through the console's property settings. Now in this demonstration, I'm going to open the 64-bit console as an administrator, and we'll see how to configure the font and layout properties of the console host. So let's start off here on the start screen, and I'm just going to type PowerSH in the search pane to display the Windows PowerShell icon. Now I'm just going to right-click and then select Run as Administrator. And immediately, Windows PowerShell begins to run. And what I want to do is I want to right-click the icon down here on the taskbar, and I want to select Pin this program to taskbar. And all this does is it just makes it easier to locate PowerShell the next time I want to run it. Now I also want to make sure that the Windows title bar up here says Administrator, and that it doesn't say x86, because what we're doing here is we're running the 64-bit version of PowerShell as administrator. Now I think I'll go ahead and I'll click the control box up here in the upper left-hand corner of the console application window, and I'm going to select Properties from this menu. Now there are 4 tabs here, and I want to select the Font tab. Down here I want to select the Consolis font, and I want to select a font size that actually works for me, just a bit bigger. Now the default font is a raster font, but in many cases a TrueType font may make the text just a bit easier for you to read. And this is important when you're trying to distinguish between some of these important characters that we use in Windows PowerShell, such as a $, an asterisk, a curly brace. Okay, let's take a look over here on the Colors tab, and there are many options here to change the screen text and screen background color. But I think I'll go ahead and keep it as it is, with the white text on a dark blue background. And finally, I think I'll go ahead and I'm going to set the screen buffer area's width value to be the same as the Windows size width value. And I'll go ahead and click OK. You'll see down here that the horizontal scroll bar is no longer displayed at the bottom of the window, and that we've successfully set the screen buffer area's width value to be the same as the Windows size value. Now I mentioned briefly before that the default font can make it a little bit difficult to distinguish between certain characters, special characters, that we use here in Windows PowerShell. If you are having some difficulty distinguishing between similar characters, just go ahead and try changing the font or the font size until you find something that actually works for you. Now let's go ahead and talk about copying and pasting in Windows PowerShell. The console host actually supports the standard copy and paste functionality, although it doesn't use those standard keyboard shortcuts that many of us are used to. So let's see how that works. I'm going to go ahead right here and I'm going to type the Windows PowerShell command, get help, get command. And shortly after pressing enter, it displays the help information for the get command commandlet. Now I'm going to go ahead and, as an example of this copy and paste functionality, I'm going to select the syntax section, and I'll use my mouse to highlight the entire block of text. And the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and I'll open Notepad. And what I'll do is I'll right-click right in the middle of the page to paste this text. Now in order to actually paste this text, I'll have to make sure that I have Quick Edit Mode enabled in the console properties. And that can be done right here using the Options tab. Okay then, well that brings us to the end of this demonstration of configuring fonts and screen layout.